The power of starting now lies in its ability to transform dreams into reality by breaking the illusion of the perfect moment, because waiting for the right time often means waiting forever, and the truth is that every great achievement has always begun with a single imperfect step taken in present, not in some imagined future. When we convince ourselves that conditions must be flawless, that the stars must align, or that we must first have more resources, more knowledge, or more confidence, we unknowingly paralyze ourselves and delay growth that can only come through action, because clarity and confidence are not prerequisites to begin but products of moving forward, and every small action taken today compounds into momentum that carries us farther than hesitation ever will. Since opportunities don't wait for readiness, they reward boldness, and the person who chooses to act now, even in uncertainty, opens doors that may have otherwise remained locked forever. Think of the countless people who sat on their ideas, dreams, or goals, waiting until they felt capable, only to look back years later realizing that time had slipped away, while those who dared to start with shaky hands and limited means found themselves learning, adapting, and growing into the very people they once wished they were before beginning. And this is because action builds resilience, shapes character, and teaches lessons no amount of planning could ever prepare you for, reminding us that greatness does not come from endless preparation but from daring execution. When you start now, you silence the voice of doubt that says you are not ready, because readiness is forged through doing, through stumbling, through adjusting, and through persevering, and by embracing action in present, you position yourself to capture momentum that builds naturally as progress fuels more progress. For every effort, no matter how small, creates ripples that compound over time into waves of transformation. Starting now does not mean you will be flawless, but it guarantees you will be further ahead tomorrow than if you had stayed still today. And the simple decision to move forward is an act of courage that redefines your relationship with fear, because it proves that fear can coexist with progress, and that bravery is not the absence of doubt, but the refusal to let doubt decide your destiny. Waiting for perfect timing often disguises itself as wisdom, but it is procrastination wrapped in good intentions, a trap that convinces us that more preparation equals more success, when in reality, execution is the teacher that preparation can never be, and those who act now discover that the so-called perfect moment was never real, that conditions will always be messy, unpredictable, and uncertain, and that the only guarantee is the one you create by moving forward. History is full of examples of individuals who began without enough resources, without full clarity, and without ideal circumstances. Yet through persistence and consistent action, they changed the course of their lives and the world, proving that it is not the abundance of what you start with that matters, but the courage to start at all. Every great invention, every career, every relationship, every transformation began when someone chose to act rather than wait. And this truth applies to every area of life, whether it's improving health, pursuing education, chasing a dream, or building a skill, because the earlier you begin, the sooner you grow, and the sooner you grow, the greater the opportunities that unfold ahead of you. When you take that first step today, no matter how insignificant it feels, you are planting a seed that, with consistency, will bear fruit in ways you cannot yet imagine. And the longer you delay, the more you postpone the harvest, which means that by starting now, you gift yourself a future that is richer, stronger, and more aligned with your potential. Because the greatest regret people carry is not what they failed at, but what they never dared to begin. And every day you delay adds weight to that regret, while every day you act adds strength to your story. So let the thought of wasted time ignite urgency in you. Let the vision of your future self inspire discipline in you. And let the belief that progress requires only a single step today empower you to move forward. Because there is no greater advantage you can give yourself than to stop waiting and start creating. not tomorrow, not someday, but right now. Your struggles are your strength because every difficulty you endure is quietly molding you into someone more resilient, more determined, and more capable than you were before, even when it feels unbearable in the moment. And though challenges often arrive uninvited and unwanted, they carry within them the raw material of growth, shaping your character, sharpening your perspective, and testing your endurance in ways that comfort never could. Because easy days rarely teach you who you are, but hard days reveal the depth of your courage and the magnitude of your potential. And while pain and setbacks may feel like barriers, they are in truth the chisels that carve strength out of weakness, clarity out of confusion, and perseverance out of fear. So when life knocks you down, it is not evidence of your failure, but a call to rise with more wisdom, because each obstacle you face leaves behind lessons that prepare you for future battles, reminding you that scars are not signs of defeat, but proof that you survived what once seemed impossible. The strength you admire in others was not gifted. It was forged in the fire of adversity, built through rejection, loss, failure, and endless trial, and just like steel becomes stronger when exposed to heat, so too do you become unbreakable through the pressure of your hardships. For every struggle deepens your empathy, expands your patience, and enhances your ability to endure, which are qualities no one can take away from you. Think about the times you thought you could not continue, but still managed to push forward. Those moments were not accidents, but demonstrations of an inner power you did not even know you possessed until the struggle forced it to the surface. And that same power will carry you through future storms. Because the very challenges that once threatened to defeat you are now part of the foundation you stand on, proving that nothing you face is wasted. Every tear, every setback, every night of doubt contributes to your strength. Struggles refine your vision too, teaching you to distinguish between what truly matters and what is trivial, reminding you that when everything is stripped away, your core values, your will to fight, and your ability to adapt are what remain. And that realization makes you wiser, because wisdom is born not in times of ease, but in seasons of trial, when you are forced to make choices, to learn humility, to accept imperfection, and to carry on despite uncertainty. Struggles are also the training ground of resilience, because life will always present new obstacles, and it is the ability to keep moving, to keep believing, and to keep working that ensures victory. And every challenge you survive adds another layer of resilience, making you less likely to be broken by the next wave, because strength accumulates just like muscles do, torn and repaired stronger each time. Even failure, the struggle most fear, is one of the greatest gifts, because it strips away illusion and replaces it with truth, showing you what doesn't work and pushing you toward what does. And the wisdom gained from failure can never be learned through success alone, since it teaches humility, adaptability, and determination in a way victory never could. Your struggles also become your strength because they create a story worth telling, a journey worth sharing, and a legacy worth leaving. Since people are not inspired by those who never faced pain, they are moved by those who fought through it and emerged stronger, because your resilience becomes a light for others still in the dark, showing them that survival and success are possible even after the hardest battles. So when challenges confront you, do not view them as signs of weakness or punishment, but as opportunities for transformation, because each struggle is building endurance for tomorrow's opportunities, and every obstacle overcome increases the size of the battles you are prepared to win, meaning your current hardships are not in vain, but are equipping you for greater victories ahead. And though you may wish for an easier path, the truth is that ease would rob you of growth, while difficulty grants you depth, because nothing extraordinary is born in comfort. but everything extraordinary is shaped in struggle. And so when you feel weighed down by the heaviness of your burdens, remember that they are not there to crush you, but to strengthen you. They are shaping your character, forging your discipline, and cultivating your ability to endure. And one day, what once felt like unbearable suffering will become the very proof that you had the strength to endure, the wisdom to grow, and the courage to keep moving forward. And in that realization, you will see that your struggles were never your downfall. They were your foundation. Consistency beats intensity because success is never the result of a single grand act of effort, but the accumulation of small, repeated actions that, over time, shape habits, discipline, and mastery. And while intensity may create a spark that burns brightly for a short while, it is consistency that builds the steady fire capable of sustaining momentum across years. Because doing something once with great energy might feel impressive, but doing it daily with commitment is what produces transformation. And the truth is that extraordinary results are born out of ordinary routines, performed with extraordinary discipline, since showing up again and again, even on days when motivation is absent and progress feels invisible, creates a compound effect where small wins stack upon one another until they produce outcomes far beyond what a single burst of energy could ever achieve. Think about the athlete who trains a little every day compared to the one who trains aggressively once in a while. The consistent one becomes stronger, sharper, and more reliable because growth is nurtured through rhythm, not randomness, and the same applies to every area of life, whether it's learning, building a career, improving health, or developing a skill, as the path to mastery is paved by repetition and persistence, not by sudden spurts of enthusiasm. For discipline is the bridge between goals and achievements, and consistency is the engine that carries you across. Intensity may get you started, but only consistency keeps you moving, because life will always test your endurance. And those who succeed are not the ones who did the most in a single day, but those who kept going when excitement faded, when obstacles appeared, and when the results were slow to show. And it is in those quiet moments of persistence, when no one is watching and the effort feels small, that true success is being built, because consistency teaches patience, resilience, and focus, while intensity often teaches impatience and burnout. The beauty of consistency is that it does not demand perfection, but commitment. It acknowledges that some days will be stronger than others, but the simple act of showing up ensures that progress never stops, and each repetition deepens the groove of discipline in your character, until what once felt difficult becomes second nature, making growth inevitable. While those who rely solely on bursts of intensity often find themselves exhausted, discouraged, and stuck in cycles of starting over. Consistency also builds trust, both in yourself and from others, because when you prove to yourself that you can keep showing up, you strengthen your confidence and self-respect, and when others see your reliability, they trust your word, your work, and your ability to deliver, which creates opportunities that intensity alone could never open. For people value the steady hand more than the one-time effort. Think of nature itself as an example. Water cutting through rock does not do so by a single powerful strike, but by the constant, persistent flow that shapes landscapes over centuries. And the same principle applies to human effort, as the consistent practice of small disciplines reshapes the entire course of a life, while bursts of energy without follow-through quickly fade into forgotten intentions. Consistency beats intensity because real transformation is a slow burn, not a sudden explosion, and the difference between those who reach their goals and those who don't is not who worked the hardest in one moment, but who kept working even when it felt hard, boring, or repetitive, because the daily act of persistence turns dreams into habits and habits into realities. And when you embrace consistency, you free yourself from the pressure of needing to do everything at once, focusing instead on doing something each day that matters. And those small steps, repeated faithfully, accumulate into a journey that no intense burst could ever match. So when you are tempted to wait for the perfect day to go all in, remember that success is not built in a day. It is built day by day, and even the smallest action taken consistently outweighs the grandest effort taken rarely, because the steady rhythm of discipline always outlasts the fleeting spark of intensity. And those who understand this truth are the ones who keep climbing when others quit, who achieve mastery when others burn out, and who eventually stand at the top. Not because they moved the fastest, but because they never stopped moving. Failure is feedback, not defeat, because every setback you encounter is not the end of your journey, but a powerful teacher guiding you closer to your breakthrough. And though failure often feels painful, embarrassing, or discouraging in the moment, it carries within it lessons that success could never provide, forcing you to confront weaknesses, refine strategies, and build resilience. And when you shift your perspective to see failure as information rather than condemnation, you liberate yourself from the fear of trying again, because the truth is that no one who ever achieved anything remarkable did so without stumbling many times along the way, as failure is not proof that you are unworthy or incapable, but evidence that you are in the arena, taking risks and daring to pursue growth. And with every mistake you make, you gather insight into what does not work, narrowing the gap between where you are and where you want to be. History is full of examples of great inventors, leaders, and creators who endured countless failures before achieving success. And what set them apart was not perfection but persistence, because they understood that failure was simply data, a signal to adjust their approach rather than abandon their vision. And in the same way, your setbacks are shaping you, teaching you to adapt, to think differently, to strengthen your resolve, and to prepare for the moment when opportunity meets readiness, since without the lessons of failure, success would collapse under the weight of unpreparedness. The sting of failure also toughens your character, teaching humility and patience, reminding you that growth is a process, and that shortcuts rarely lead to lasting achievement. And though failure may bruise your pride, it also sharpens your focus, compelling you to dig deeper, work smarter, and persist longer, because it strips away illusion and replaces it with truth, showing you the gap between effort and result while also affirming that progress is still possible if you refuse to quit. Failure builds resilience by forcing you to rise after falling, to stand even when your knees are weak, and to keep moving even when your path feels unclear. And with each rise you become stronger, more confident, and more capable of enduring greater challenges ahead. Because resilience is not born in victory, but in the willingness to keep going after defeat. And those who treat failure as feedback cultivate an unshakable spirit that cannot be broken by rejection, loss, or temporary setbacks. In fact, many breakthroughs come only after repeated failures, because each attempt uncovers new insights that would have remained hidden without experience of falling short, and every so-called failure is a stepping stone, a necessary part of the path that leads you closer to mastery. For the road to achievement is rarely straight and smooth, but filled with detours, missteps, and obstacles that ultimately strengthen your journey. Failure also teaches you creativity and adaptability, because when one way does not work, it challenges you to discover another, expanding your thinking and pushing you to innovate rather than settle. And in doing so, it develops resourcefulness that no success without struggle could ever create. For it is in the moments of setback that your mind is stretched, your spirit is tested, and your vision is clarified. Failure is feedback because it forces you to pay attention, to analyze what went wrong, and to apply those lessons to your next attempt, making you sharper and wiser. And the more you fail and learn, the closer you come to aligning effort with success, until eventually What once felt impossible becomes inevitable, not because you avoided failure, but because you embraced it as part of the process. Defeat only happens when you decide to stop, when you allow failure to silence your effort and kill your will. But as long as you treat each failure as a lesson and refuse to quit, you cannot truly be defeated, because every setback is temporary and every lesson moves you forward. And the difference between those who succeed and those who give up is not who failed the least, who refuse to let failure define them. And when you carry this mindset, you realize that failure is not the opposite of success, but the foundation of it. Because success is simply failure refined, persistence rewarded, and lessons applied, which means every time you fall short, you are actually one step closer to your breakthrough. You are closer than you think, because most people abandon their journey just before the results of their effort begin to surface. And the difference between those who achieve their vision and those who walk away empty-handed is not talent, luck, or resources, but persistence, the quiet strength. Keep going when everything inside you whispers to quit. And this truth is one of the most painful yet powerful realities of success, that the finish line often lies just beyond the moment of greatest struggle, when fatigue, doubt, and frustration feel unbearable. And those who endure a little longer, who push one more time, who believe for one more day, are the ones who discover breakthroughs that seemed impossible. The process of growth always hides results beneath the surface for a time, much like seeds planted in the soil, where weeks of invisible progress are mistaken for stagnation. But in reality, roots are forming, foundations are strengthening, and when the time is right, the sprout breaks through. And so it is with your efforts, because the work you do consistently builds unseen momentum, preparing a reward that appears suddenly but has been quietly accumulating all along. And too many people give up during that hidden season, never realizing how close they were to their turning point, surrendering not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked patience and faith in the unseen progress already unfolding. Persistence is the bridge that carries you from effort to outcome, and without it, even the best ideas, plans, and dreams remain unrealized, because every great achievement requires time, struggle, and endurance. And the final stretch is often the hardest precisely because it tests whether you have the resilience to claim what you have worked for, as life seems to ask, how badly do you want this? And those who answer with persistence earn the prize, while those who give in to discouragement walk away just short of it. Imagine climbing a mountain where the air thins, your legs ache, and the path narrows, and many turn back believing the summit is still far. Yet if they had endured a few more steps, they would have seen the peak within reach. And this is how most goals are abandoned, not because they are impossible, but because the final effort felt too heavy. And the tragedy is that the view, the triumph, the reward was only a little further. The truth is that progress accumulates silently, and the point when it feels like nothing is working is often the very moment the breakthrough is being prepared, because persistence has a compounding effect. Each day of effort stacking upon the last until suddenly the wall gives way and what once seemed unmovable collapses under the weight of your persistence, revealing that success was not about working harder in one day, but about refusing to stop working across many days. Winners are not those who never feel doubt, fatigue, or frustration. They are those who feel all of it and keep going anyway. Those who understand that the gap between dreamers and achievers is measured in moments of persistence, in the willingness to press forward when giving up would be easier, because persistence transforms ordinary people into extraordinary successes by simply outlasting the obstacles that defeated others. When you remind yourself that you are closer than you think, you equip yourself with the strength to endure the discomfort of the present moment, recognizing that pain, boredom, or frustration are temporary, but quitting makes them permanent. And with every step forward, even the smallest, you reduce the distance to your goal, moving closer to the breakthrough that will make every sacrifice worthwhile. So many lives remain unfulfilled fulfilled not because the dream was unreachable, but because the person gave up too soon, unaware that persistence for just a little longer would have revealed the results they longed for. And this is why you must keep pushing, because even when you cannot see progress, progress is being made. Even when results seem absent, results are forming, and even when success feels far, it is nearer than your doubts suggest. And if you keep moving forward, you will discover that the moment you thought you could not go any further was the exact moment you were standing on the edge of victory, proving once again that persistence is the dividing line between those who achieve and those who merely dream. Believe in the future you're building, because everything you do today, every action, every sacrifice, and every choice is laying bricks for the life you will step into tomorrow. And though the present may sometimes feel heavy with struggle or slow with progress, it is in these quiet and unseen moments that the foundation of your future is being created, for nothing worthwhile appears overnight, but is shaped gradually by faith, vision, and persistence. And when you hold tightly to the belief that your effort matters, even when results are invisible, you give yourself the strength to keep moving forward, because faith is the fuel that sustains action in seasons when evidence is scarce, reminding you that the seeds you plant today, though buried in darkness, will one day break through into light. And the discipline you show now will blossom into opportunities and rewards you cannot yet see. Believing in the future you're building requires courage, because doubt will whisper that your work is wasted. Fear will tell you that you are not enough, and impatience will tempt you to abandon your path. But vision allows you to rise above those voices, holding on to the picture of life you're creating and choosing to act in alignment with it, even before it has materialized. And this ability to see beyond current circumstances separates those who merely wish from those who actually achieve, because faith without action is fantasy, but faith combined with consistent effort becomes destiny. The future is not something you stumble into by accident, but something you shape deliberately through daily choices, and every small act of discipline, every moment of persistence, every refusal to quit builds momentum that compounds over time, carrying you closer to the person you want to become. And though progress may not be visible day by day, the long arc of time always rewards those who keep building, just as a structure rises brick by brick, until one day the skyline reveals what once seemed impossible. Belief in your future is also what keeps you grounded in purpose, because when obstacles come, and they always do, it is not immediate results that keep you steady, but the vision of where you're going, the understanding that this moment is only a step, not the whole journey, and that temporary struggle is shaping permanent strength. And when you trust the process, you stop needing everything to happen quickly and instead find peace in the certainty that as long as you keep building, the future you desire is inevitable. The truth is that no effort you put forth today is wasted. Even the smallest action matters. Even the failures contribute, because every experience teaches, refines, and prepares you for the day when your vision becomes reality. And by continuing to believe in what you're building, you transform setbacks into stepping stones and hardships into lessons, turning the very things that could have broken you into the fuel that propels you forward. The most powerful lives are not built on luck, but on unwavering belief in a vision combined with relentless effort to honor that belief. And when you wake up each day and commit yourself to acting as though your future depends on today's choices, you create alignment between who you are now and who you want to become, and that alignment makes the journey unstoppable, because nothing is more powerful than a person who believes so deeply in their future that they refuse to let the present discourage them. When doubt arises, remind yourself that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is bridged by consistent faith-driven action, and each step you take closes that gap, bringing you closer to the life you dream of, until one day you wake up and realize that the vision you once held only in your mind has become the reality you are living in your hands. And in that moment, you will see clearly that it was never about massive leaps, but about daily faith, daily effort, and daily choices that together built a future worth believing in from the very beginning.